now I want to go a little bit more in depth into some of the characters. Not all the characters, but some of the characters with some of the changes that are in Final Fantasy VI Brave New World, and they're really nice. So I'm just going to start with Cyan here, because I really like what has been done with Cyan. So Cyan was pretty mediocre at best in Final Fantasy VI. However, in Brave New World, he's fantastic. He serves a role of tank that can deal damage, but his ATB charges slower than a lot of other party members, so he's not like overpowered, but he's very, very good at that role. So Cyan, Cyan can't equip shields, so he's pretty much always going to take advantage of the fact that his weapons are double-handed. They come with May counterattack, which is pretty nice. One great thing to do with Cyan, since he'll pretty much always be in the front row despite not having a shield, is use the fact that his weapons can counterattack, give him some way of covering an ally, so he'll jump in front of physical attacks that are sent their way, and then counterattack. I don't think I have any of that set up right now, but through most of the game it works out pretty well. And pretty much all his weapons will either counterattack, let's see, this one may counterattack, or hit foes with a stamina-based wind attack. So you can absolutely build Cyan with a stamina build. Let's go into his Espers real quick. For how Espers and other things work in Final Fantasy VI Brave New World, I suggest checking out my first Final Fantasy VI Brave New World overview video. That will go into Espers, but Cyan only gets 3 Espers, and Crusader comes pretty late. So Kirin will give him an HP and a stamina bonus, or Bismarck will give him a Vigor bonus. Vigor is basically for physical damage, HP is for HP and stamina. Now, Kirin comes relatively early compared to some of the other Espers, as does Bismarck, I suppose, but it's very easy to build up Cyan to be pretty tanky with 30 HP and 1 stamina for an Esper that comes pretty early. So he's very easy to build as a tank, or you can build him as more of a physical damage dealer, but I wouldn't completely skip out on the HP bonuses from Kirin, because it's very rare you're not going to put him in the front row. Does Crusader give HP? Yeah, an even greater HP bonus to make him even tankier, but Crusader comes pretty closer to the end. Or I shouldn't say closer to the end, but not nearly as early as these other Espers. So I think he makes a great tank / good physical damage dealer. Let's go to his skills real quick, his Bushido. Dispatch deals double damage to humans, ignores defense, and I believe ignores rows, but stick him in the front row anyways. If you want him to cover allies and counterattack, like I was saying, he'll need to be in the front row. Mind Blow is 500 MP damage, so good against the undead or certain bosses that may rely on magic. Empowerer is a drain for both HP and MP, so this is a great way for Cyan to recover his HP and his MP. Although he won't be casting very many spells, he's a great out-of-battle healer. So he has life, he has cure. So outside of a battle, he can heal the party, and then if he gets low on MP, you don't have to rely on an item or MP restorer to restore his MP. He can do it himself. Setting Sap is great for bosses. Flurry is Quadra Slam, and it will randomly set Muddle now. Dragon is a stamina-based attack that has a 50% chance to petrify and ignores defense. It only targets one enemy. It no longer drains, as Empowerer now drains. But Dragon... Oh, and Empowerer is no longer a percentage-based damage attack. But Dragon is a great tool to use when you're building a more tanky stamina-based version of Cyan and a less physical damage-based Cyan. Eclipse is based on his magic, so no matter which build you're going, whether the tanky stamina or the more physical damage-based Cyan, Eclipse is pretty much going to hit just as hard. It sets blind on everyone, which is way more useful in this version of the game. For more information on that, see my first overview. But it's also his only real AoE damaging attack outside of Flurry if it and Tempest if they hit multiple targets. Tempest, like Flurry, hits 4 times. Tempest no longer ignores defense, but it hits harder than it had previously. If you're building Cyan for physical damage with Vigor, then this will be your number 1 go-to attack towards the end of the game. And Cleave still is an instant death attack, just like in regular Final Fantasy VI. I want to say increasing his stamina makes it more likely to hit enemies. So, some minor differences, but he's much stronger. Now, one of the biggest damages as well, Bushido is charging. The enemies no longer get to attack. So, that makes him a lot better. I don't know why. I mean, I guess Square was trying to be creative when they first came up with it, but it was such a handicap for him that all the other characters were able to do more damage and just do things better than him because of that. And so, in Brave New World, while he's charging his Bushido, the enemies no longer get to do anything. ATB is paused, basically. But I will say, they semi-balanced it out a bit by making his Bushido charge much quicker. And so, if you're not paying attention, you could accidentally select the wrong one. It won't happen too often, though. But Cyan, he's so much better in this game. He's a lot of fun. Let's go next to Sabin. I'll talk a bit about Sabin. So Sabin is still a tanky monk. Let's go to his equipment here. So claws are automatically dual wieldable and elemental based. Now, one big difference between claws, so may cast Drain, may cast Bolt, may cast Ice, Fire, Sap, Slow, and Nothing. Spirit Claw is useful for pretty much the whole game because holy damage, there's a good amount of strong bosses that are weak to holy. And setting slow is a great thing to do, although he does eventually get the slow spell. But yeah, he gets great elemental coverage with his different claws. So if an enemy is weak to some sort of element, and may cast Drain is pretty nice because he tends to have a lot of HP. But if you're fighting a boss or any sort of enemy that's weak against an element, Sabin there's a good chance he can take advantage of it if you just equip the right one. Tiger Mask, halves fire damage, extra HP from Royal Jacket, Nirvana Band. That's equipable by him, the Hero Ring, so may guard allies as long as he's in the front row and the ally is in the back row, which or when they get low on HP. So I don't think I have him counterattacking right now, but he can equip the black belt. So great elemental coverage from a regular attack. So his regular attacks are still viable if you want elemental damage. In regular Final Fantasy VI, you basically never use his elemental attacks outside of a counterattack. You pretty much always use his blitzes. Blitzes, Pummel ignores defense and sets sap. They do reduce damage from the back row. Suplex can set stop. Aura Bolt is stamina based. Fire Dance, I think, is magic based or stamina based. I don't remember. Mantra has stamina factored into it, so it's a better heal. It was difficult to use in regular Final Fantasy VI because the less HP Sabin had, the less it would heal. Now that's been balanced out a little bit more. If Sabin has more stamina, then Mantra will still heal more. Chakra has replaced the old Blitz that Sabin had, where he would kill himself and then he would sacrifice himself and heal his allies. That one was kind of dumb, and so they replaced it with Chakra, which heals MP or restores MP, also based on his stamina. Sabin, as far as I know, is the only way in the game to restore MP to multiple allies at once, if not one of the only, but I'm pretty sure he's the only character who can do that. My first playthrough of Brave New World, I took on the Kefka, the final boss, with Terra, Sabin, I want to say Strago, and Realm, I think was my final party. And Terra just casted Ultima over and over. Sabin restored her MP. Strago kept safe and shell up for people and just sometimes did random random damage, random healing. And Realm was my healer. Pretty sure it was Realm. But yeah, that was my final part. That was my party for the final battle. and Sabin is just... his ability to heal multiple, or to restore MP for multiple allies is just fantastic in this game. MP management is huge in this game. Sonic Boom, there's your Street Fighter 2 reference. That was Airblade. And Bum Rush, there's your... punches hits hard. Punch hits hard. There's your up, up, down, down code. What was that? Contra code? I don't know. The Konami code. Which makes it a lot easier to use Bum Rush, by the way, on touchscreen devices. So as far as magic, Sabin doesn't really get offensive magic in this game. He gets Drain, which is much more powerful and good for somebody who has high HP in general. I don't know if I'd ever use Quake for Sabin. Sleep and Imp can be helpful against certain bosses. Safe is really good to have. Slow is really good to have. Float against certain bosses, or even just random battles. There are enemies that have very powerful earth attacks, so it's handy to have somebody who in your party who has Float. And Sabin can be that somebody. As far as Espers, he gets only 3. So Stray he'll have at the beginning to give himself a stamina bonus, or block certain elements. And I think Stray does a different effect when he's summoned now in battle. I think he heals. Golem is a very, very good Esper. I think only 2 or 3 characters get to equip Golem, but he's very, very good in this game. Golem, when casting him, will absorb a certain amount of physical damage for your whole party, and he's very good. It's really nice to have Golem. Let's see, this will up his Vigor and HP. If you want to build Sabin to do more damage, you can up his Vigor and his HP. And then later in the game you get Terrato, I don't know. But good for earth damage, although he has Float, so I can't imagine you taking earth damage. Oh, I didn't learn Sleep X. Now I have. But this gives Sabin a lot of HP. So typically you're going to build him for either high stamina for his HP restore, and more importantly his MP restore, or you're going to build him with Vigor and HP so he can be tankier and deal more damage. Both options are good. Often in this game, characters can be built more than one way, but you'll rarely want to do hybrids. There are some exceptions where I think hybrids are really, really good, such as with Shadow. And on that note, let's go look at Shadow. Shadow, I think, is a lot better in this game, except for the World of Balance. I think he's pretty useless in the World of Balance because he keeps disappearing on you, like right when you get his good stuff. But in the World of Ruin, he's really, really good. He gets this weapon, which allows him to attack twice, and all daggers are dual wieldable, so he can wield a second weapon with it, giving him basically 4 physical hits right away. He has really high natural evasion and magic evasion, so you can build him that way. He gets the ninja mask, but somebody else might be using it. Black belt for counters, Zephyr cape for evasion and stuff, Mirage vest, auto haste, and high evasions. But I like building him with Scion's weapons that allow randomly, I think it's Arrow to be casted or something like that, but this allows him to, see, he hits foes with a stamina-based wind attack. This allows him to essentially attack twice with this, because he has his double attacking weapon, so he gets 2 chances to attack with Arrow. And although it's stamina-based, it still hits the entire enemy, and it hits hard enough to be quite useful, especially in random battles, and his speed is super high, so he gets to deal a lot of damage that way. As far as magic, he doesn't get much. Yeah, he actually learns Re-Raise at a certain level. I think it was 30, I don't remember. Regen, I think, came from an Esper. But he gets haste. He's one of, I think only Shadow and Gal get haste X, or haste 2. He gets Float. He gets Warp. I think only he and Gal get Warp, which is handy, although you can use the Warp Whistle item in this game. He gets Dispel, which is handy. So he gets a lot of he gets spells to sort of affect the battle, but that's about it. He's not going to do much damage, and outside of the occasional re-raise heal, but he can use items if he needs to heal, and his speed is so high that he's good for that. He typically gets 2 turns for every 1 turn that his allies can get. He only gets 2 Espers. Phantom. We'll give magic evasion when equipped. cast Vanish on everyone when used, and then gives him Vigor and/or Stamina. Not and/or, Vigor and Stamina. Fenrir ups his speed. One of the... I think only he and Gao get to use Fenrir. And Fenrir, when summoned, of course, casts Image on everybody, which is a really, really good buff in this game. In fact, it's very rare, and Shadow still gets it through his smoke bombs, or whatever throwable weapon he had, but he can use it now not just on himself, but on allies. So that's pretty nice. Setzer. We'll talk about Setzer real quick. Setzer's probably the most improved character in the whole game, in my opinion. Setzer's a really, really good healer now. When his slots don't match up, he gets a powerful heal. He gets the ability to set both poison and sap, which is handy for boss battles. He can heal with Cure, although I'd rather heal with his slots. Re-raise is good to have. Regen X, it's the fact that you can use it on all your allies in one go, in one casting, is pretty nice. He gets Seraph. Not many characters get Seraph, but Seraph blocks some powerful status elements and spells, but also, when used in battle, casts Re-raise on everybody. It's the only AoE Re-raise in the whole game, so that's fantastic for bosses. Starlet. Oh, I didn't learn Cure 3 with him. Look at me slacking. And so he gets Shout. This Esper comes early enough to get access to the EL bonuses pretty quickly. So he'll be able to build up his magic pretty well, which most of his slots are based on magic, as well as his healing from his slots. Seraph is good for that HP and MP bonus. I don't really find myself running out of MP too much with Setzer, but the HP bonuses should not be neglected. They're really good to have. Starlet gives Stamina bonus. I don't know if Stamina Setzer is really great, but Setzer is good for that. You can give him his fixed dice. I'm not a fan of the physical attacking Setzer, but I do like the slot using Setzer more. It's a lot of fun. Where's my fixed dice? I don't know. He can dual wield his regular weapons now, and Viper Darts can now crit all the time. Lots of fun stuff like that. And then he gets the Daryl Soul, which allows his attacks to trigger twice if you decide to build a Vigor-based Setzer. Man, this video is getting longer than I originally anticipated. Gao, I'll go over his changes real quick. I still don't like Gao, but Gao's a lot better in this game. Gao is really powerful when you first get him, because he gets access to AoE damage earlier than anybody else, as far as I can tell, through his rages, or whatever they're called. I didn't bring him to Kefka's Tower, so I don't have him to show you. But Leap can now be used off of the Veld, so you can use it at any time in the game, as long as you have an enemy in the enemy formation that he can get his rages from. And Leap is not available if there's no enemy available to get any abilities from, so that's a really nice quality of life change. And yeah, those are some big improvements for Gao. Locke, I think, is really good in this game. He's like Shadow, where he's very fast. He can become quite a powerful physical damage dealer, particularly through dual wielding wing edges, which is dual wieldable, although I only have one. Such wing, much edge. And other powerful weapons that he has access to. His steel and his mug are a little bit different in that if they are successful, they will keep his ATB full, allowing him to do it multiple times. So he can actually mug over and over and over multiple enemies as long as he's able to successfully steal, dealing damage multiple times. So that's really nice. And there are some powerful items that are only available through steal. Not going to go into all of them right now. You can only steal from human-based enemies and bosses, because why would like a wolf be carrying a piece of armor or an item? So do keep that in mind. You're no longer punished for stealing from a non-human enemy like you were in earlier versions of Brave New World, so I mean, I think that was more for the laughs than anything. He has excellent weapon selection, excellent armor, well, not armor, but shield selection should you go that route. He has good armor selection, I would say. As far as Espers, he gets access to Ramuh for a nice vigor bonus really, really early, as well as Ifrit for a nice speed bonus really, really early. He gets Kirin, but that seems a little more out of place to me. I'd rather build him with high vigor and or high speed. I find that with Shadow and with Locke, hybrid builds between vigor and speed are the way to go, but that's just my playstyle. You can play him however you want. He can also get HP and MP from Phoenix. So unlike Shadow, he can increase his HP from Esper skills. Do I want to talk about anything more? Terra's morph has been reworked. It now gives her an increase to physical and magical damage by 50%, I want to say, and doubles her incoming damage. And it is a toggle now, so you don't have to wait for it to charge up or worry about it running out. Although when she dies, I think it wears off. So that makes her pretty interesting. Terra and Celeste are both... You will typically build them for magic or physical attacks, one or the other. I think in this playthrough I have Terra built for physical damage, so I have her Apocalypse. Terra and Celeste both have really, really good equipment options to some very, very powerful armor and shields and physical weapons. Typically you'll build one for physical damage and the other for magic damage. So here the soul box on Celeste cuts her MP costs by half. But if we look at it, let's see if I can find it here. What was it? No, it wasn't that. Her soul box. It's only usable by Celeste. And there's a version of this for Terra. You can only have one or the other. Basically, you can swap them at the Colosseum, I want to say. But you can't have both, so it's a little less efficient to build them both as a magic damage dealer or a physical damage dealer. Like I said, MP management is very important in this game, and neither of them have Osmos. So Terra, you'll need to either restore her MP through items or Sabin or some other means. So Celeste at least has her runic ability, which a lot more enemies are going to cast spells, making it a lot more useful. But yeah, you'll typically build one of them for physical damage, one of them and the other for magic damage. Finally, I guess I'll talk about Mog. I don't think I brought him. Great. Well, I'm going to talk about Edgar then. As far as jumping is very powerful in this game, in my opinion. So Dragon Seal switches fight to jump and ups the spellcast rate of weapons. So that's going to be like your Ice Brand, Electric Sword, things like that. Mog gets an accessory that allows his jump to come down right away and not sit in the air. The Dragoon Helm allows jump to hit twice, and it does hit very, very hard. And it does same damage from the back row. So Edgar is going to hit very, very hard with his double handing of a spear, chance to attack twice in one jump. I really, really enjoy the building a Dragoon build for Edgar. He still gets his tools, so I don't know if that's a thing here. Yeah, he still has his tools, so his tools are still powerful, although I find the drill a little less powerful than I remember it being. And they're a little bit different, but you can look at the drills and his tools and see how they're different. I guess I can do that now real quick. It is 24 minutes so far. Where are his tools? What am I? Blind? There they are. So auto crossbow ignores row, which is kind of nice. Noise blaster is exactly the same. Bile blaster is powerful. You get it later in the game than you normally would because it's just that powerful, especially dealing dark damage. There's a point in the game where you're fighting the Empire in the World of Balance and you just come across a lot of human foes, and Bile Blaster is really good for that. Drill, that's not a great description, but it does set sap. It says it ignores defense, but I always found it rather underwhelming. I think that's because I didn't realize I had Edgar in the back row, or just because his Dragoon build is so much better. Flash sets blind still. Blind is actually useful in this game. Defibrillator is a little bit different. It basically revives a dead ally and gives them more HP based on his stamina. Chainsaw is still Chainsaw, although I still prefer to use Jump over Chainsaw. And Mana Battery is one of the very few ways outside of items to restore mana, but only stores it to one person, not like Sabin who can restore it to multiples. The amount of MP restored is increased with increased stamina, so do keep that in mind. And then let's look at Edgar's Espers here. He gets a decent selection. Siren for magic and speed. I can't imagine somebody wanting to increase Edgar's magic, but maybe for a funzy build, I don't know. Unicorn for HP and stamina. Stamina increase will make his defensive tools and restorative tools stronger. Golem for vigor and HP. So vigor's for physical damage. That's the kind of Edgar I enjoy. And HP, and like his brother Sabin, he gets Golem. Not a lot of people get Golem. It's a really good Esper to have. Palador. I think Mog also gets Palador, but here's how I enjoy building him is with vigor and speed. And then Palador does the same thing, allows everybody to jump. Auto Haste, good to have equipped. And that's all he gets. For magic, he gets Cure 2, which you'll probably use outside of battle more than in the battle, but he doesn't have a way of restoring his MP outside of Mana Battery. And even then, when you're Mana Battering, you're not Cure 2ing, so you'll have somebody else use it usually. And some other neat little tricks. I don't believe you can jump while Berserked. I remember trying that and being disappointed that that doesn't happen. But there are other fun strategies you can use with Berserk. Not a lot of people get Berserk. And that's going to be Edgar. Realm is great in that she gets Cure 3 and Re-Raise and very powerful high damaging spells and Osmos. So although she gets a lot of MP because of her Espers and very little HP, she hits hard with her magic. Her sketches are really good in this game. I recommend sketches a lot. She gets high speed from Ifrit. She only gets +1 to magic, so she doesn't have a +2 magic, which is a little bit of a bummer for such a strong spellcaster. Ooh, let's give her warp. Starlight. Now I can't give her Regen X. She gets Regen X because I don't have enough SP because I got warp, but she gets Regen X. It's a really good spell to have. You want Regen on a bunch of your allies. You can go for a high stamina build for Realm. Bahamut you get later in the game, but it gives you Meteor and Flare and more MP. Realm, I don't really see much of a point in upping Realm's MP specifically, due to the fact that she gets Osmos. MP management isn't as big of a deal for her. Or if she runs out of MP, she can always just use Sketch. But I built her as a magic user, so magic, which Zone Seek also ups her MP. That's why she has so much right now. That and equipping Bahamut, I think, gives you... Nope, it's autosave. Nice. Anyways, Strago, I'm just going to say real quick, Strago is the only character in the game to get party-wide safe. So he doesn't get safe, he gets it through lure. Shield. Shield casts safe on everybody. It's the only way that I know offhand to cast safe on everybody in one go. Otherwise, you got to use safe 4 times because you have 4 party members. Shield no longer, it's not like Big Guard where it casts Shell on everybody as well. It only casts safe on everybody. He can cast Shell on everyone through... Does Zone Seek do it? Yeah, Zone Seek can cast Shell on everyone, but you only get to use that once in a battle. He does at least get +2 magic, unlike Realm. And Carbuncle is for MP and stamina. I don't worry about his MP, that's why his MP is so low. I didn't really boost it, because he gets Osmos from Zone Seek. And Odin gives him Dark, which is a very powerful spell in Brave New World 2.0. And X-Zone is X-Zone, handy for the undead. But he also gets... He's one of the few who get to use the Sage Stone, which gives you X magic. Only a couple of characters get the Sage Stone in this game. And so Locke and Mog are the other two. I think it's best used for Strago, because that way he can use Shell on multiple allies. He still gets Shell, right? Yeah, he can cast Shell. He can get Shell up on everybody a little bit quicker if the enemy has dispelled you. He can use like Dark and Osmos to restore his magic in one go, or just Dark twice, in case you want to use 90 MP in one turn. So stuff like that. I like to give him the Sage Stone. Should I talk about anybody else? I guess no, this time around. So that'll end it for this video. It's already 30 minutes long. Lots of other fun changes that I didn't go over. It's easier to use Setzer slots. There's a slightly different rhythm to it, by the way, but they're easier to use. I like them a lot more. Setzer's probably one of the most improved outside of Cyan, in my personal opinion, for this game, just because I hated using Setzer in regular Final Fantasy VI. But anyways, I will leave a link to download. I will leave a link to my first video in the description. And if you have any other opinions, feel free to leave them as comments, or if you disagree with me, feel free to leave that as well, and we can talk about it. Otherwise, go play Final Fantasy VI Brave New World. It's a fantastic mod. It's a lot of fun.